Pole position is certainly the place to be for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's an all-McLaren front row for tomorrow's 11th round of the Formula One World Championship, and a fourth pole of the season for the World Championship leader, Lewis Hamilton. But Heikki Kovalainen right up there in support alongside him. Felipe Massa, the first of the Ferraris, he's alongside Robert Kubica for BMW. Another disappointing performance from Kimi Räikkönen, who's on row 3 with Timo Glock, who's bounced back so well after that big accident in Hockenheim. And then Alonso and Webber, Trulli and Piquet complete the top 10, the front 5 rows for tomorrow's Hungarian Grand Prix. But really, Mark, this afternoon we've just seen McLaren reinforcing their superiority.
A McLaren lockout, and so important for this racetrack because it's so difficult to overtake. I think McLaren will be very happy that Kovalainen is sitting there on the front row in that supporting role. Maybe it won't be a supporting role. Maybe he feels he's got the pace underneath him to go out in front and do something about the race tomorrow. But I have to say, those two guys there done a great job. Lewis Hamilton, once again, outstanding. Pole position, great lap.
And he's been very relaxed right the way through this qualifying competition. He knew how much he had in hand.
Yeah, I think he just knew that he had a great car underneath him, and he just took it all in his stride. And you just watch him again, and he just seems to me, time and time we see him in the car, he's tidying himself up. Although there's that aggression in there, it's a controlled aggression. He's pushing the car, but he's getting everything out of it. And every time he does that, he gets rewarded with a great lap time. And, you know, again, we see him sitting on pole. He sits there as number 1. Everybody else is behind him. He will dominate, he will lead, and he will make sure he's in control of tomorrow's race.
And he won it from pole position last year, led every single race of the Hungarian Grand Prix last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of style that, you know, we're used to seeing from Lewis, and I think we're in for that tomorrow. But saying that, Kovalainen does look quite strong, and I think the pace will be there in the race tomorrow to see a great battle between them. But again, McLaren very happy with a lockout. Yeah,
you were saying how important it is to have Heikki Kovalainen alongside, and it was a great qualifying performance from Heikki as well. And he's a threat, or is he a support, or how do you feel?
Well, I think he could be a threat, but saying that Lewis Hamilton is so strong during the race, I think you've seen time and time again the differential between them in lap time. But saying that, I think Heikki's getting stronger and stronger race in, race out, and he may just feel that this track will suit him, and he may well decide that he's going to go for the win.
Well, this was Fernando Alonso in the foreground, Heikki Kovalainen doing his supporting role for McLaren to make it an all-McLaren front row for tomorrow's race, and that's to the absolute delight of Ron Dennis. A weekend, Ron, you would assume is going perfectly to plan so far.
It's going well, Steve, but I just want to correct you. Kovalainen isn't here to support, he's here to win the race, so you know, he's got the same car. But it's a really great one for the team. You know, there's developments we have on our car here were destined for Valencia, so to accelerate our program took a lot of effort and a lot of all-nighters, which is an unheard of thing in motor racing these days, but that's what it took.
But Lewis will be mighty relieved to have Heikki alongside him, presumably. What is the actual importance tactically to the team to have an all-McLaren front row?
Well, this is a sort of Monte Carlo without the C. You know, it's almost impossible to overtake here, and if your two cars are on the front row, putting aside it's the dirty side of the circuit for Heikki, then you can really control the race. And our first objective is to come first and second. We really, you know, that's how you start a race like this, of course, but there's a long way to go. It's a good place to be.
It was great in the aftermath of qualifying to see the hugs and the handshakes between Lewis and Heikki, and we had to make the point it's a bit of a contrast with 12 months ago.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. There was a lot of activity here last year, and all of it unpleasant. To be honest, the truth's still to come out, but I tried to be very focused on this year, not reflect too much on last year, but you know, it's a good feeling to be on the front row.
Ron, you said Heikki's not here as a supporting driver. In that case, when they go into turn 1, is there anything between them? I mean, if they're fighting into the first turn, have you got an issue with that? You're going to let them go at it?
Yeah, no, they fought in Silverstone, and they can fight here. All I'd like them to do is not end up with egg on their faces. You know, the important thing is to emerge from the first corner, first and second, in whatever order that is. But you know, we haven't had team orders, and we're not going to have them here, so we want to see a good race. But of course, it's Lewis is really on a roll at the moment, so he's going to be a strong competition for everybody, including his teammate.
And the team is on a roll as well. What would you actually judge? How would you quantify the advantage you seem to have over Ferrari in the last 3 races?
You know, we don't spend too much time waiting and looking at the competition. What we try to do is make the car faster at every race, and our really big next step is going to be Monza. Phenomenal effort onto that, the nature of the circuit. So from now to Valencia, it's going to be a bit more fine-tuning, but we're really looking forward to all the remaining races. We're going to be strong for the rest of the season.
So the form is there, and there's more to come.
Absolutely.
Well done, Ron. Good qualifying performance. All McLaren front row for the Hungarian Grand Prix tomorrow. It's Lewis on pole. It's Heikki Kovalainen alongside him, and we can hear the driver's reaction. They're in the press conference right now. Felipe Massa say that he thinks Ferrari are there in terms of comparison to McLaren. Has he got any kind of a point?
I think he feels that maybe because race pace wise they're quite sensible, and I think that will be the evident thing tomorrow during the race, that Ferrari should be a little bit stronger. I think when it just comes to qualifying, just trying to eke that little bit out and get that one lap together, McLaren are a stronger proposition, but I think his confidence and his optimism may be a little bit more than most.
But if it comes down to a straight contest of conserving tyres in the latter stages of tomorrow's race, he might have a point there.
Well, that's the biggest factor in all of the situation of tomorrow's race, because it's going to be tyre management. And historically, McLaren have been a bit harder on the tyres, and we've seen Ferrari a little bit more lenient. That could be the play for tomorrow, with Ferrari coming strong at the end. But it depends how much margin there is. If McLaren go off into the distance, it doesn't matter how good they're going to be. I think there'll be too much margin to catch up.
Interesting also when Ron Dennis joined us a few minutes ago to hear him say, of course, Heikki Kovalainen isn't in any kind of a supporting role, but how exactly does that relationship work out on the track?
Well, I think it's that's why we asked whether they're going to have a straight fight into turn one. He said they can have a straight fight, so let's see whether that does go on. But it was also interesting to watch the last race, just to see the situation between Kovalainen and Lewis Hamilton. I don't know. I don't think there is any team orders, but at the same point, I think Lewis is the stronger guy and he's leading the championship. It would be silly to sort of look differently and try and give away 10 points when it's not necessary. But I also think Kovalainen's in a situation where he can fight for the outright win anyway.
Yeah. Okay, all McLaren front row. Lewis Hamilton on pole position. We'll have more interviews, we'll have more reaction to what's happened in today's qualifying, more speculation of what might happen tomorrow. That plus the ITV F1 competition as well, all in a few minutes' time. Lewis Hamilton has put himself on pole position for tomorrow's Hungarian Grand Prix. Indeed, it's an all-McLaren front row for tomorrow's race. But the big concern for tomorrow, right around the paddock, Lewis Hamilton included, is exactly how these tyres are going to perform, how the tyres indeed are going to survive in this heat of Budapest that we're bound to have for tomorrow's race. It's going to be hot and it's going to be very demanding on those tyres. And down at Honda, Ted Kravitz is going to get some thoughts, I think, from Alex Wirtz.
Yes, thank you very much, Steve. And we've got a set of soft tyres and a set of hard tyres here. So, Alex, just talk us through. I mean, they're quite similar in the range. How can there be so much difference between the soft one here and the hard one, and what's it going to mean for the performance?
Well, I don't know the temperature today in good old England, but here it's blistering hot, and especially for the tires where we have about 50 degrees circuit temperature, that's really hot. I can just show you on the tire what's happening. Here you have the soft tire, and you see the surface really looks dirty, awful, because it's melting too much. Whilst on the harder tire, the surface looks nice and smooth, and it's just in a much better working range. So it's a function of the rubber on the soft tire being too soft, starting to melt on the surface, and then the car starts sliding, mostly on the rear. And that's the simple reason today. It was too hot for the soft compound. That's why the hard tire in the end was the much faster tire.
So do you think anybody can do a long stint on the soft tyres, or do you think everybody is going to go for the hard tyre and then finally the soft tyre at the end, try and minimise the time on the soft tyre in the race?
Well, with a short trip into the chemistry classroom, we can see that the soft tire, the compound, once it's heated up like today, it has a bit of a hardening effect, so the compound gets a bit harder, a bit stiffer due to one heat circle, and that is maybe enough for tomorrow, for one stint on the soft tire, to make it work.
But just finally, you think it's McLaren who are strong, who've got this lot sorted with the tyres, whatever?
Look, to be honest, I think by the first two stints they're gonna be just so far away that even if they have to carry the car around on soft compounds, they're gonna win it.
Okay, Alex, thanks very much. Back to you, Steve.
Advanced physics and a bit of chemistry there as well from Alex Wirtz, and some very optimistic thoughts on behalf of McLaren. They were very clever, in fact, to conserve a set of the harder tyres during qualifying today.
I think Lewis actually was conserving tyres throughout qualifying in many ways, because he did a very limited amount of laps. He made sure that when he gets to tomorrow's race, he's got tyres there with plenty of freshness still left in them. And I think what Alex is saying is a little bit to what I alluded to earlier. I think the margin may be so big, it doesn't really matter what the condition of the tyre is come the end of the race. I don't think anyone, Ferrari or BMW, whoever it may be, will catch McLaren.
But how much do you feel, if he needs to have mastered the art of conserving tyres, how much do you think Lewis has actually achieved that?
Well, I think he's learning that all the time, but I think also there is a basis of what the car is, whether it actually eats tyres or whether it actually manages them quite well itself. And I think McLaren has been a little bit heavy on its tyre wear in comparison to Ferrari in days of old. Maybe they've just got around that slightly, and maybe they've got a little bit more aerodynamics on the car, and that's helping out on the tyre wear, and that seems to be showing. It's quite evident at this point.
Okay, the challenges to McLaren tomorrow. We've got, of course, Felipe Massa, who we've heard from, on the second row, alongside Robert Kubica. And then on the third row, Timo Glock, who was in that fairly violent accident at Hockenheim 2 weeks ago, but he's come back so well. Good performance for Toyota.
Great recovery from Timo Glock. I'm really impressed with it, and I think it just put him in the frame at the right time, because we're coming up for driver contracts. It's that time of the year. That kind of performance will stand him in good stead.
And Toyota starting to look pretty consistent. I think we can hear from Timo Glock right now.
Timo, best qualifying result of the season. That bump in Hockenheim doesn't seem to have done you any harm.
No. I mean, the question, I think, what I got the last days, if I trust my team or my car, I think gave the right answer for that. And car was good over the whole weekend. In qualifying, tricky with the tires, a lot of up and downs in terms of tire conditions, and sometimes I couldn't go the pace what I wanted to go in the outlap because of traffic, and that already cost me a bit of time. And that was a bit unfortunately, I lost a bit of time in the first sector. And but P5 I think is okay.
Looking at the grid around you, who do you feel you're going to be actually battling against in the race?
I think everybody around me will be a hard battle against, and we have to wait and see how the race is going tomorrow, especially what the temperatures are doing in terms of tire conditions and tire choice, and we have to wait and see.
Do you think you can get to the podium from where you're starting?
Tricky. I mean, at the moment I'm happy with P5, and I think we should aim for that result. When we can keep Kimi behind us, that would be already really good, but I think that will be difficult.
Timo Glock on row 3 and qualifying faster than Kimi Raikkonen, who shares row 3 with him. No signs of a return to form yet from the world champion.
No, it's disappointing, I think, for a lot of fans of Raikkonen. I mean, I think Kimi's a great driver, and as you say, he is current world champion. You'd expect a little bit more from him, and I think Ferrari expects slightly more. And I can't quite see what's going on there. It just seems that he's not happy with that car every time he gets in it, and that's quite evident when he's out on the circuit. The lap time's not coming easily. Massa's making more of the car, and Kimi, yes, a little bit unsettled.
At what point do you think Ferrari will benefit from favouring one driver in terms of the championship ahead of another?
I don't think they can really afford to do that at this point. I think they need to make sure that they get both drivers up to speed and try and make sure that they get them consistent and start winning races again and counting those valuable points come the end of the season. Also making sure they collect them towards the constructors, and they're leading that at the moment. But with a McLaren lockout on that front row, that's going to start to get eroded very quickly.
Yeah, potentially a very, very tough day for Ferrari tomorrow. Renault showing strong form once again in that battle for fourth in the Constructors' Championship. Alonso qualifying well. So too Nelson Piquet, whose reputation now is growing all the time.
Yeah, I think his reputation is getting stronger by the race, and I think this weekend again it's shown that he's got pure pace. He's inside the top 10. I think he did a very good job in qualifying. You'll be slightly disappointed, Steve, that he's a little bit further away from Alonso than the other qualifying and practice sessions, but at the same time, again, impressive, and very impressive for Renault now. 2 cars in the top 10. They can start to collect some valuable points for that constructors' title. It is so important for the manufacturers.
Yes, and if Nelson can turn that into a good, strong points finish tomorrow, it'll do him no harm at all.
Oh, certainly. I think if he can get in the top 6, I think he again can walk with his chin and his head held up high and leave this track with, again, some more confidence.
Okay, he's qualified in 10th, and I think we can hear from Nelson right now as well.
Nelson, inside the top 10, is that a satisfactory result for you?
Yeah, it's okay. Obviously, it's you always feel a bit not down, but that 11th can choose a strategy, can choose whatever he's going to run, and I'm just one position ahead, and I have to stick with what I have. So, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was very tough to be in the top 10. I mean, was a bit close to Fernando, so that was good, and improving. I think I thought it was going to be a bit easier than it was, but
nonetheless, you've had a strong weekend. That first podium does seem to have boosted your spirits and lifted your confidence.
Yeah, a little bit, and I mean, I think all the tracks here in Europe that I knew from GP2 has helped me quite a bit. So, I mean, all the next tracks that are here in Europe, I'm expecting to do well, and I don't know what's going to happen in tracks that I have never been, but all these I'm learning a bit, and when I get to the next ones that I don't know, I think it's going to be easier than the beginning of the championship.
Nelson Piquet, of course, not figuring in the battle for the driver's title, but maybe next year. It is still so tight. Lewis Hamilton with those 2 victories in the last 2 races, having recovered from 10 points behind to 4 points in front of Felipe Massa. Kimi Räikkönen back 7 points off the lead. Robert Kubica 10 points off the lead. At what stage do you look at Kubica and Räikkönen and think that their challenge might be really fading?
I think you've got to feel now that there is too strong a lead being sort of written now in the books for Hamilton. You know, he's taken a commanding lead in this championship, and the others behind him are starting to struggle slightly. Massa still feels he's in with a shout. Räikkönen, with his present form, has got to be thinking the worst, and I think Kubica maybe, he's also probably thinking he can overtake Räikkönen. I mean, he's out-qualified him again today. Maybe he's thinking he can get into 3rd place in the World Championship. I think that's pretty decent in a BMW, but Lewis Hamilton, McLaren, they look so strong at the moment. It'd be a brave man to bet differently.
Yes, and Robert Kubica has qualified pretty well here today. Qualified on the 2nd row. Tremendous amount of Polish support here at the Hungaroring for Robert Kubica's efforts tomorrow. He might just deliver. Let's hear from the Polish number 1.
Robert, that looked good on the telly. Did it feel good inside the car?
Well, yeah, it feels quite good, but quite difficult qualifying, as all free practice car was quite difficult to drive, so I'm pretty happy with 4th place. I was not expecting such a good result, so quite confident for the race.
Difficult to drive in what way?
Everywhere, bumpy, the car is changing balance, quite a lot of oversteer, especially on the hard tires, which are better, but yeah, quite difficult, and anyway, I'm quite happy to be 4th.
And well, you're well placed for a good result here, aren't you? What do you think is possible?
Everything is possible, but everything will be difficult. Toyota looks strong. I don't know how it's with the fuel loads and stuff like this, but starting 4th, hoping for good points, especially turning back after 2 unlucky races. Especially Hockenheim was quite not good for me with the safety car, but yeah, hoping for a good race.
Well done.
Bumpy circuit, tough circuit, physical circuit. Most drivers out there seem to be writing off the chances of really racing tomorrow, overtaking tomorrow.
I think they know, obviously McLaren is so strong, and I think they understand how difficult this circuit really is. It is very physical, it is very tough out there with the conditions, and it is a circuit that if you just put 6 inches wrong on the track, you're going to be offline, you're going to be in the dust, and you're probably going to be off. You can't make any mistakes around here. It's very alike a street circuit. There's no margin for error, and as I say, probably one of the toughest on the calendar because there is no rest.
We will get your final thoughts on the prospects for tomorrow in just a moment or so. Let's give you one more chance, though, at our ITV F1 competition.
We've got a great prize this week thanks to AT&T Williams sponsor, the Royal Bank of Scotland. It's a trip for 2 to the Italian Grand Prix on the 12th, 13th and 14th of September. You'll have weekend tickets to the Grand Prix with grandstand seats in the heart of the action. 4 nights accommodation at a 4-star hotel in nearby Sesto San Giovanni, return flights and transfers to and from the airport included. Not only that, but 3 times Formula 1 World Champion and RBS Global Ambassador Sir Jackie Stewart will also give you a tour of the Formula 1 paddock. So to be in with a chance of winning this great prize, courtesy of RBS, official partner of the AT&T Williams team, just answer Kazuki Nakajima's question correctly.
Who was the last Williams driver to win the F1 World Championship? A. Michael Schumacher, B. David Coulthard, C. Jacques Villeneuve.
That's Kazuki, so to enter, call 09049 596789. Calls cost £1 from a BT landline. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text the word F1, followed by your answer of A, B or C to 63337. Text cost £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter for free at itv.com until 5 p.m. Friday the 8th of August. Entrants must be 18 or over. Phone lines close 5 p.m. Tuesday the 5th of August. Entries made after the closing time won't be counted but may still be charged. Good luck.
Yes, best wishes for that. Final thought, McLaren in great shape here for tomorrow's race, but they'll be tense. There's so much they've got to get right in terms of organisation and tactics.
Yeah, they've got 2 cars in the front row. They've got to make sure they get through turn 1, make sure no mistakes by either driver, and once they get out there, they've got to command that lead. But the big thing tomorrow, Steve, tyre management. That is going to be key to tomorrow's race.
Mark, thanks very much indeed. So the Hungarian Grand Prix tomorrow, but we have got race action coming up for you very shortly from here in Hungary over on ITV4. That's this afternoon's GP2 race, which is live, and you can see tomorrow's GP2 race live at 9:25 in the morning, also on ITV4. That's followed by a rerun of qualifying, and then our race build-up from 12 noon on ITV1 ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Highlights at 10:45 in the evening. Weekend that's going perfectly to plan for Lewis Hamilton. The World Championship leader will have his own problems and challenges tomorrow, but he's on pole position for the Hungarian Grand Prix. In fact, it's an all McLaren front row. Bye-bye.